All right, let's talk man to man. You've probably envisioned it. The perfect wedding, the honeymoon glow, that feeling of we finally made it. You hear all the classic advice: communication is key, compromise, respect. And sure, those are important. But what if I told you there are deeper currents, silent undertows beneath the surface of even the happiest marriages? Subtle shifts that can erode your sense of self, quietly redirect your life's compass, or leave you feeling profoundly misunderstood. These aren't the big dramatic conflicts you see in movies. They're the insidious, almost invisible traps that no one, absolutely no one, prepares men for. They're the things your dad didn't mention, your married friends gloss over, and society just doesn't discuss. But understanding them, that could be the difference between a marriage that thrives and one that slowly, painfully starves. So, lean in, because today we're pulling back the curtain on the 7 hidden traps of marriage no one tells men about. And trust me, you'll want to hear every single one. Now, before we dive deep, let me be clear. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's not about criticizing women or marriage itself. It's about illumination, about arming you with knowledge that can transform potential pitfalls into stepping stones. It's about recognizing the subtle shifts that can derail even the most loving intentions, and giving you the tools to navigate them with wisdom and strength. Think of it as a pre-flight checklist for the most important journey of your life. These traps often manifest not through malice, but through a lack of awareness, an absence of explicit conversation, and the sheer momentum of societal expectations. So let's peel back these layers, starting with perhaps the most insidious, because it attacks the very core of who you are. The first hidden trap, and perhaps the most subtle, is the erosion of identity and autonomy. You walk into marriage as an individual, with your own hobbies, your own friends, your own rhythms, your own dreams. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the lines begin to blur. Your time becomes our time. Your single friendships begin to fade as couple friends take precedence. That passion project you used to dedicate weekends to, it gets pushed aside for household chores, family obligations, or simply the exhaustion of modern life. It's like a vibrant watercolor painting left in the sun. The colors don't vanish overnight, but over time, they fade, become less distinct, until you look at it one day and wonder where the original vibrancy went. This isn't about your partner intentionally trying to control you. Far from it. Often it's a natural consequence of merging lives, of prioritizing the we. But without conscious effort, your individual identity can become diluted. Your gym routine gets sacrificed for dinner with the in-laws. Your weekly poker game gives way to weekend errands. Even your personal space, your garage, your study, your favorite chair can subtly morph into shared territory. The danger here is that you wake up one day feeling lost, resentful, or like a supporting character in your own life. You might not even be able to pinpoint why you feel this way. It's because a part of your essential self, the independent, autonomous man you were, has been slowly, quietly paved over. The solution isn't to resist us, but to consciously and openly carve out space for me. It's about communicating your need for personal pursuits, for dedicated alone time, for maintaining those friendships that feed your soul. It's about your partner understanding that a whole, fulfilled you makes for a stronger us, not a weaker one. It's about making specific, non-negotiable appointments with yourself and advocating for their importance to your well-being. This requires both your self-awareness and your partner's understanding. a conversation that often doesn't happen until the resentment has already taken root. Moving on from the quiet erosion of self, we encounter our second hidden trap, the fix-it reflex versus the need to be heard. This is a fundamental communication chasm that often separates men and women, and it's a source of profound, baffling frustration for countless couples. When your wife comes to you with a problem, a challenging day at work, a frustration with a friend, an issue with the kids, your male brain, wired for solutions, immediately springs into action. You listen for the data, you analyze the variables, and you offer a logical, step-by-step plan to resolve the issue. You think you're being helpful, supportive, and effective. You're trying to be her knight in shining armor, armed with a spreadsheet and a strategy. But often what she actually wants is not a solution, but an ear. She wants to vent, to process her emotions out loud, to feel validated, understood, and connected. She wants you to simply listen, nod, offer empathy, and maybe a hug. When you jump straight to fixing, you inadvertently dismiss her feelings. You shut down her emotional processing. It's like she's trying to show you a beautiful, intricate tapestry of her emotions, and you immediately point out a loose thread and offer to re-sew it, completely missing the art of the whole piece. You're speaking different languages. She's speaking empathy and connection, and you're speaking problem-solving and efficiency. The trap here is that your good intentions are completely misconstrued, leading to her feeling unheard, frustrated and alone, and you feeling unappreciated, ineffective and confused. You're thinking, I gave her the perfect solution. Why is she still upset? The key is to ask, are you looking for me to just listen, or would you like my advice? This simple question is a superpower. This brings us directly to our third hidden trap, one that can poison the well of even the most loving relationships. The invisible scorecard trap. We enter marriage with an idealized vision of partnership, where things will be equitable, fair, and selfless. But beneath the surface, unspoken expectations often breed a silent ledger, a mental tally of who does what, who sacrifices more, and who is pulling their weight. It's not malicious, it's often unconscious. Maybe you believe you're doing more around the house, or carrying a heavier financial load. Perhaps you feel you initiate intimacy more often, or you're the primary one planning social events. And your partner, meanwhile, might be keeping her own invisible scorecard, noting the unseen emotional labor, the mental load of organizing everything, the disproportionate effort she puts into childcare, or the compromises she's made. The trap isn't the division of labor itself, but the assumption that the other person sees, values, and acknowledges your contributions in the same way you do. When these scorecards accumulate and the perceived balance tilts, resentment begins to fester. It's like a quiet drip, drip, drip of water that eventually fills a bucket to overflowing. Neither of you explicitly communicates these tallies, yet you both feel the imbalance. You might start withdrawing, subtly punishing, or feeling increasingly unappreciated, all because of an unspoken invisible metric. The danger is that you become so focused on the perceived unfairness that you stop seeing your partner's efforts, and the spirit of generosity and partnership erodes. The solution is radical transparency. It's about regularly, calmly, and openly discussing roles, responsibilities, and how you both feel about the division of labor. It's about acknowledging the mental load, not just the physical tasks. It's about recognizing that what feels like a massive contribution to you might feel like a basic expectation to your partner, and vice versa. Instead of silently tallying, you need to talk about the feeling of being overwhelmed or unappreciated, and then collaboratively adjust the load, rather than letting the invisible scorecard turn into a relationship-destroying audit. Building on that theme of unspoken expectations and the passage of time, our fourth hidden trap is the shifting sands of intimacy. When you're dating, and certainly in the early stages of marriage, physical intimacy is often a passionate, spontaneous, and frequent expression of love and desire. You expect that spark, that magnetic pull to endure indefinitely. But then life happens. Kids arrive, careers demand more, stress mounts, sleep deprivation becomes the norm, and slowly, subtly, the nature of intimacy begins to change. The spontaneous morphs into the scheduled. The passionate might feel routine. And for many men, this is a profound and confusing trap. No one tells you that intimacy isn't a static state. It's a living, breathing entity that evolves and requires conscious nurturing. The trap lies in the assumption that if the frequency or intensity changes, it means something is fundamentally wrong, or worse, that your partner no longer desires you. You might internalize it as a personal failing, or feel rejected, leading to withdrawal, resentment, or a reluctance to initiate, further exacerbating the problem. The reality is that intimacy in long-term relationships deepens and broadens. It moves beyond just the physical act to encompass emotional connection, shared vulnerabilities, quiet moments of understanding, and simple acts of affection. The initial fireworks give way to a deeper, warmer, more enduring glow, if you understand how to tend it. The solution isn't to lament the loss of the honeymoon phase, but to actively participate in redefining and cultivating intimacy in its new forms. It's about understanding that your partner's desire might be tied more closely to feeling seen, heard, and supported emotionally than solely to physical attraction. It's about discussing your needs and desires openly, listening to hers without judgment, and collaboratively exploring what intimacy means to both of you in this new season of life. It means dating your wife, prioritizing connection, and understanding that foreplay often happens outside the bedroom, through shared laughter, acts of service, and genuine appreciation. Otherwise, you'll be chasing a ghost of what once was, rather than building a richer, more profound connection for what is. Next, we uncover the fifth hidden trap, which is often deeply ingrained in male identity, the provider paradox. From a young age, men are often subtly and sometimes overtly conditioned to see themselves as the provider, the protector, the strong one. This is a noble and powerful impulse. You want to take care of your family, ensure their security, and be the rock. But here's the paradox and the trap. In taking on this immense responsibility, many men inadvertently silence their own needs, their own struggles, and their own vulnerabilities. The trap isn't the act of providing itself, but the unspoken expectation that comes with it, that because you're the provider, you must always be strong, unflappable, and self-sufficient. You're not supposed to complain about the stress of your job, the fear of financial instability, or the exhaustion of always being on. To admit weakness or express emotional vulnerability feels like a betrayal of your role. It's like being the captain of a ship in a storm. You have to project confidence and control, even if you're terrified inside, because everyone else is looking to you for reassurance. But holding all that in, bearing the weight in silence, is incredibly isolating. It prevents you from seeking support, from leaning on your partner, and from truly sharing the emotional burden of life. Your partner might genuinely want to support you, But if you consistently present a stoic, problem-solving facade, she won't know how to. The solution is to redefine what it means to be strong. True strength isn't the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to express it. It's about understanding that being a provider extends to providing emotional honesty and creating a space where you can also be cared for. It means communicating your stresses, sharing your fears, and allowing your wife to be your partner, not just in shared joy, but in shared struggle. This isn't about being weak. It's about building a truly resilient partnership where both individuals feel safe enough to be fully human. It's about remembering that the strongest ship has a crew that can rely on each other, not just a captain who bears all the weight alone. This leads us to our sixth trap, one that often creeps in subtly and shifts the dynamics of a household without anyone fully noticing. The wife as manager syndrome. In many relationships, especially after children arrive, there's a natural, often unconscious division of labor where one partner, typically the wife, becomes the de facto household manager. She's the one remembering birthdays, scheduling appointments, coordinating childcare, planning meals, buying gifts, noticing when the milk is low, and generally holding the mental load of running the entire operation. You might be a supportive husband, taking out the trash, doing the dishes, or picking up groceries when asked. But the trap isn't that you're not doing tasks. It's that you're often operating as a task doer rather than a co-manager. The danger here is twofold. First, your wife becomes overwhelmed by the sheer volume of invisible work, the constant planning, anticipating, and problem-solving that goes into keeping a household afloat. She feels like your manager rather than your equal partner, which breeds resentment and exhaustion. Second, for you, the trap is that you subtly surrender agency and initiative. You become accustomed to being told what needs to be done, rather than actively identifying needs and taking ownership. You might genuinely want to help, but if you're always waiting for instructions, you're missing the proactive, managerial side of partnership. It's like being a competent employee who needs their boss to delegate every single item, rather than anticipating needs and taking initiative. Over time, this dynamic can infantilize you, make you feel less capable, and certainly make your wife feel more like a mother than a lover. The solution is to actively reclaim your managerial role. Don't wait to be asked. Look for what needs to be done. Take ownership of entire domains, maybe the finances, maybe the car maintenance, maybe the kids' extracurriculars. Proactively ask, what's on your mental to-do list that I can take off your plate entirely? Offer to manage a category of household life, not just execute a task within it. This shift from helper to co-manager is transformative. It rebalances the mental load, re-establishes true partnership, and ensures that the household functions with two fully engaged leaders, not one stressed manager and one well-meaning subordinate. Finally, we arrive at our seventh and arguably most pervasive hidden trap, the post-honeymoon reality trap. We are inundated with romantic comedies, fairy tales, and social media highlight reels that paint a picture of marriage as a destination, a blissful state achieved once you say, I do. The wedding is the grand finale, the happily ever after. And while the initial glow of marriage is real and wonderful, the trap is believing that this initial emotional intensity, this effortless connection, this constant state of excitement, will naturally endure without conscious effort.